From Black Yoshi being broke enough to steal money from a gas station.
Hey Mario, here's your Pepsi phone and you said I get to keep the change, right?
To Mr. Goodman claiming that he's worth over $500 billion.
I'm only worth $500 billion.
There is a very big wealth divide among SML characters. So today, we're gonna be going over all of them, from the most broke to the most rich, starting with arguably the most broke character in SML, Hansel. Hansel has been around for a while, since all the way back with SML movie Mario's Hobo Problem. And during that time, we see that he really has nothing to his name, unless you count some cardboard boxes. We see in this video that he's so desperate for food that he comes in to clean up an absolute explosion of a bathroom after Shrek clogged the toilet. But Hansel only screws around the whole time, drinking beer, sleeping, and let's just say finger painting with some of the material in the bathroom.
Okay, I got the bleach.
Later on in SML, we see that Hansel really hasn't made much progress with his finances, still being a homeless man that digs through trash cans for lottery tickets like we see in SML movie Jeffy Wins the Lottery, and in SML movie The Rings. We see that he will go as far out as to assault Mario in order to make some money, as he works with Black Yoshi to knock Mario out, and steals the rings just to sell them. Hansel lives in a box, has never changed clothes, had a job, or any way to make money. So I think he's for sure at the complete rock bottom dollar-wise, right at a $0 net worth. No matter what it seems, it looks like Hansel can't keep a job at all. But that differs from the next character on the list, who can keep the same job, but continues to be paid poorly and treated like a slave. I'm of course talking about my boy Chef Pee-Pee. One of the defining things we know about Chef Pee-Pee is that this man is literally paid pennies for working all day, every day. And that's not even an exaggeration, as we see Bowser literally dump those said pennies in front of him on his paydays.
All right, Chef Pee-Pee, it's time for your paycheck. Here's your pay for the month. Wait, what, Bowser? This is all that I get? I worked so hard!
Throughout the time, we've got to learn about Chef Pee-Pee in SML. And one thing that we've seen a lot is him mentioning how straight up broke he is. We see him have a completely empty wallet when Junior, Jeffy, and Cody try to steal from him in SML movie Jeffy's Taco Tuesday. And another time when he gets an expired lottery ticket and gets so excited that he absolutely roasts the mess out of all of his friends. He is even so desperate to make money that he has no hesitations about changing his name to frickin' Poopy Butt in order to cash a check with the name Poopy Butt on it to get $1 million. But this ends up blowing up in his face after Mr. Goodman changes his name to cash in the check. Chef Pee-Pee also mentions that he hasn't seen more than $20 in SML movie The Bake Sale, but we'll be generous and say that he has gotten at least $50 since then, due to inflation and him having some assets like maybe a spatula. I don't know.
I already got my name changed. It's on my driver's license. Poopy Butt. Or you could call me Chef Poopy, but I don't give a damn. I'm rich.
But before I tell you about that, don't think I'm gonna let you get away without hearing about today's sponsor, Polybuzz. Polybuzz lets you chat with AI versions of people, ranging from your favorite cartoon characters to celebrities and so much more. Personally, I decided to talk to an AI version of Chef Pee-Pee, and I first asked him, "Hey Chef Pee-Pee, why are you so broke?"
Because I work 14 hours a day for Bowser, and he pays me in actual pennies.
Have you thought about getting a second job?
I mean, I've thought about stripping, or starting an OnlyFans. I don't know, I hate my life. And don't even get me started on how annoying Junior is.
You can have full conversations with these characters, joke with them, roast them, or whatever you want to do. The possibilities are literally endless. And on top of that, you can even add your own versions of characters inside the app. So you already know I'm adding Pumpkin Guy. He is about to yap me to sleep. If you guys want to try it for yourselves, make sure to click the link in the description or the pinned comment. It's free to download, and if you use my promo code SML22, it unlocks premium features in the app with a free trial. Huge thanks to Polybuzz for sponsoring today's video. Now, let's get back to it. So yeah, Chef Pee-Pee is pretty broke, but at least he hasn't committed any crimes to get money. Well, not that many at least. But we can't say the same thing about our next character, Black Yoshi. Dougie or Black Yoshi, whatever whatever you want to call him, has got to be by far the greediest character in the history of SML, with an absolute obsession of money in literally everything that he does. One of Black Yoshi's completely overused jokes in SML is that every year he asks Mario for the new Call of Duty, because obviously Black Yoshi's too poor to afford it. Mario says no, and every time he has to do some ridiculous thing to make extra money, like stealing from the gas station like we mentioned earlier, stealing kids from the park and using them to get money on his welfare check, and even dressing up as Jeffy, taking his lunch money from Mario, and going to school taking classes for him while locking him in a closet. One of Black Yoshi's biggest and most insane crimes is an SML movie Black Yoshi Scam, where after failing with his overpriced Kool-Aid stand, he moves his focus to lying about being sick on GoFundMe, and ends up raising millions of dollars, claiming that he has flesh-eating bacteria in a coma, and penis AIDS as well. Considering Black Yoshi has no job and spends all his welfare checks, I'd be surprised if he had a net worth higher than $100. So yeah, Black Yoshi's poor as can be. But will that change for the better at some point? Probably not. But in the meantime, let's move on from characters that are completely broke to our next category of characters, who are a little bit better off from these previous ones, but are still struggling. Starting with a character who we all know is pretty greedy and relatively insane overall, that being Nancy. Nancy, as we all know, is the mother of Jeffy and Phoebe, and whenever she makes an appearance in SML, she usually has one thought in mind: try to steal Jeffy and use him to gain his inheritance from his father, until we find out that his father is still alive on his 18th birthday, causing her to seek out other methods like kidnapping kids to make money, like she does in Jeffy's 19th birthday. Other times when we get a chance to see her living situation, such as in Jeffy's 20th birthday, we see her living in squander, in a dirty house with broken and dirty appliances, and just overall a really gross living situation that Jeffy and Phoebe unfortunately had to grow up in. We even see that she's low enough on living expenses to the point that when it's time to pay rent, she ends up having to pay her landlord in a much more disgusting way, with these payments even leading to the birth of Phoebe. So with desperate attempts to bring in more income, she can't have more than $1,000 to her name.
So, you gonna pay the usual way, or am I gonna have to kick you out on Christmas Day?
I did just put Jeffy in his cage. All right, come on back to the bedroom, but I ain't got no rubbers.
Oh, Merry Christmas to me!
But now let's move on from the weird implications of that and look at our next character on the list, that being Little T. Little T, also known as Toad, has a long history of doing some crazy things for money, with one of the most infamous but hilarious times being that he touched a nickel unknowingly, leading to Mama Luigi and Mario beating the crap out of him in SML movie Toad's Mistake.
Now that's what I call a slam dunk! I'd love to see instant replay on that!
Since this incident, Toad has become much more fleshed out, becoming a rapper, making some pretty awesome bangers like Milk and Cookies, Twerk It, Shake It, and many more. But it's not clear exactly how far Little T has gone, definitely putting his amount of wealth into question. Now, I bet that Toad does have some money to his name, as he's often decked in chains and has a decent recording studio to make some nice rap songs. He also has a pretty nice Dodge Challenger, like we see when he decides to shoot Jeffy in SML movie Jeffy the Rapper. But there's no signs that Toad is super well off, especially since he got beat up for a nickel, and he's just a kid, so it's unlikely that Toad's net worth is more than a few grand. But now, let's look at our next character, the incredibly strange brother of Brooklyn guy, Jonathan. Jonathan is a pretty interesting case when it comes to his finances, as we have some pretty strong evidence that he's not doing too hot. When we look at Jonathan, one of his most defining characteristics is that even at his age of around 36 years old, he still lives with his mother, Babs, not showing many signs of initiative to get a job. We do know of some jobs that he's had though, like his first appearance in SML movie Jeffy's Broken Laptop, where he's shown to have a computer repair company that he calls Big Shirt's Computer Repair Services. But it's unclear if Jonathan still owns this company. Regardless if this company still exists or not, we can still see Jonathan's lack of discretion when it comes to his spending habits, since we see in SML movie Brooklyn Guy Switch that he is a nice collection of anime girl dolls that he does some seriously questionable things with. We also see in SML movie Jeffy's Gamer Girl problem that whenever Jonathan comes to the door to bring the Gamer Girl bathwater that Jeffy ordered, he claims that he bought 20 of them for himself. And at around $250 a jar, that is literally $5,000 that he wasted on disgusting, used bathwater. Jonathan had a company at least, but not enough money to live alone, and spending his money on irresponsible things. He definitely blew that money and probably only has about $5,000 to his name, especially after the bathwater.
Wait, that's not pizza.
Oh, it's way better than pizza. Plus, it's discreet shipping, so if you have a girlfriend, she'll never find out. But there's no way you'd have a girlfriend because only desperate guys order these.
But moving our way even farther up the list, we can take a look at a few characters that are in the general poor category. And to start it off, let's look at a character deserving of the title, Marvin. Throughout the entire time that Marvin has been in SML, it's pretty obvious that he's got almost no money to his name. And the easiest way that we can see this is his most recurring joke he's in, that being that he can never afford to pay off his house payment whenever Goodman comes to get it. With this joke stretching for almost 10 years now, starting in SML movie The Bet.
Oh, well, I don't think I'm gonna be able to make my house payment this month. But you are so.
Other than this joke, we see that Marvin is greedy enough to do a lot of questionable things, like stealing a gold bar from Goodman and pawning it off to buy prostitutes and Gucci clothes, deciding to sell Jeffy to Goodman for $10 million without blinking an eye, and even planning on literally killing Goodman with the help of his clone, so he can split the money with Goodman too and get rich. Marvin's biggest sign of his lack of money and desire for it is when he decides to adopt Jeffy in SML movie Jeffy's Parents, where Mario decides to adopt Jeffy and to be a good father to Jeffy. But this facade that Mario put on is eventually destroyed when he finds out that Jeffy won't get the inheritance, leaving Mario out a ton of money and causing him to be extremely frustrated. Mario owns a house and a car, but with no job, forgetting his house payment, and probably bad credit to go along with that, he can't be worth more than $50,000 considering his debts.
Oh wow, Marvin. Good thing it wasn't about the money, otherwise you'd be really upset right now, huh?
He's not getting any of the money! I'm taking the Jeffy outfit off and throwing the cake away and popping out the balloon!
And you said it wasn't about the money!
But speaking of fathers, we can move up to our next father on the list, that being Braxton. Braxton's wealth is an interesting but unclear mystery, as he never works, never seems to leave the house that much, but yet he's still able to afford things like a house, to pay Chef Pee-Pee, albeit a very pathetic amount of money, and to spend money on food, Charlie-related things, and other quite expensive things like a massive 18-wheeler for Junior's birthday as well. Bowser's finances seem to have come from possibly a backlog of money that he saved, such as him saving some money in a piggy bank even if it's only $100. But he seems to also enjoy doing some crazier things to earn money, like helping Mario rob a gas station in SML movie Black Yoshi's Money Problem, with the success of these ways to earn money for him being questionable.
And I want all big bills. I need it now. I need it bad. I got a son at home, lady.
Wait. $25.
$25? What I'm gonna do with $25?
Bowser's money lies in his savings to the point that in SML movie The Pantry, Bowser takes Mario and Chef Pee-Pee to Vegas to gamble. And when they get there, Bowser loses all of his savings on red, leading him to flat out jump off a bridge, committing non-alive at the end of the episode. So using all of this information, I'm gonna go ahead and assume that Bowser has around a $75,000 net worth. But I'm gonna assume all of that money is in cash and tucked under his mattress. So that's the story of Bowser's net worth. But what's the deal with Clarissa Fitzpatrick? Clarissa's situation is pretty layered, as there's many things we can draw about her finances whenever we see her in SML. First, we see her job situation in SML movie Boys Night Out, where we see her as a waitress that the boys meet and hit on as well. Later that same night, we see that she works another job as a stripper at the strip club the boys go to, mentioning that she has to work this extra job to pay for her son.
I work 2 jobs to provide for my son.
Well, that's sad.
We also see that she tries to make money as well being a school teacher, with Junior, Jeffy, and Cody tricking her into thinking that she's won the lottery, causing her to quit her job and lose another source of income. We learn as well that she is in need of income enough to where she's created an OnlyFans trying to earn some extra money, but that doesn't work out for her too well, only having 2 subscribers on there. Considering all of these things, I can't imagine that Clarissa has more than a net worth of around $80,000. $200,000, considering the inconsistent salaries for all of the jobs and how expensive kids can be. So that's the end of the poor category. But now let's move on and look at our more stable characters, starting with Brooklyn Guy. Brooklyn Guy is a character on this list that should most definitely not be poor under any circumstances, considering how many jobs he has. He's been a police officer, a lawyer, a doctor, pizza delivery man, a dentist, a firefighter, and so much more. Even with all of these jobs, he's far from loaded, since we see him make terrible life decisions and act needy for money several times in his history, like when he tries to steal Mr. Goodman's watch in SML movie The Watch, or when he bet his entire life savings on Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, making him super rich, then blowing it later gambling again at a casino. It also seems as well that his income is severely hampered by his wife Karen and his daughter Penelope, as Karen doesn't work but spends a lot of Brooklyn Guy's money as well, and Penelope is just a child as such, that takes a lot of money as well to survive. And also, he can't work every job all day every day, so the income from every single job isn't added up in his salary.
I'm gonna go eat Rocky Road ice cream at a strip club, so thanks for the cloning machine, guys. Oh man, I can't wait to eat ice cream and look at boobies. What?
Sure, the man has a lot of jobs, but he also has dependents in his life and all kinds of debt. But we'll give him the benefit of the doubt and put him around in $100,000 net worth, considering the nice salary of some of his jobs. Brooklyn Guy's jobs also consist of some criminal activities, but at least he's not alone doing all of these criminal things, as he partners with the next character we have on this list, Simmons. Simmons is an extremely similar situation to Brooklyn Guy, as he's often a character used to fill in certain jobs that the episode calls for, like a doctor, cop, cameraman, animal tamer, and many other things that Brooklyn Guy doesn't always fill in for. The difference between him and Brooklyn Guy, though, is that Simmons, as far as we know, doesn't have a wife or child to spend his money excessively, allowing to save some more of that money from all of the different income he earns. We do see that Simmons has a relationship with Barbara Guy that would cause him to spend more income, especially considering how demanding Babs is. And we see this in SML movie Jeffy and Junior's Hotel, considering how similar he is to Brooklyn Guy for income, and the fact that he has no kids evident in his life. Let's put him a little higher at an $125,000 net worth.
Yeah, I was trying to get lucky. Get lucky? He's already lucky. This motherfucker hit the goddamn jackpot. He gets to be all up in this Babs cooch.
Brooklyn Guy and Simmons share the job of police officers and have a pretty decent income, but neither of them do as well as the police chief does. We don't learn a lot about the chief's personal life and finances, but we can infer several things about him, like the fact that he definitely makes pretty solid money, as the average police chief salary in America is right around 6 figures at a minimum. The only family that we know he has is a wife, and being married isn't necessarily cheap, but he doesn't seem to have any kids to support, which definitely helps his finances. Chief was also shown to be a military chief and flight chief as well, and that definitely adds an extra source of income for him. And he also, for some reason, partnered with Jacques-Pierre Francois to fly his plane and try to kill Jeffy. They also seemingly got killed, but I'm sure he's fine. So I hope the money from working with Jacques was worth it. These are pretty nice paying jobs, so I think Chief could break our next milestone and be worth at least $200,000.
Fix it! I can't, goddammit, this is your fault!
That marks the end of the characters who are certainly pretty stable. But what about characters who finally have some decent wealth? Well, we can start off and look at everybody's least favorite SML family, the Huckardoos. The Huckardoos have been around since SML movie The Huckardoos, and during this time, it's unclear about an actual number of how much money they have. But from the looks of it, they seem to be doing pretty good for themselves, as they have a nice house, a well taken care of property, and they can support their 2 kids. We know that Hank works at a glass manufacturer and makes pretty decent money doing this, with Suzanne not working and being a stay-at-home mom, but she seems to spend extra money and time doing other things unbeknownst to her family, like we see in The Stakeout and Magic Marvin. They have nice assets, seem to not be struggling, and a stable income, so let's put them right at $250,000.
Hello? Oh, thank God you're here. There's a fire in my living room, and I hope you brought your hose.
I did bring my hose. It's full of water.
Their disposable income for the whole family seems to be pretty good as well, as they're able to afford expensive restaurants like we see in Gordon Ramsay's restaurant in SML movie Brooklyn Guy the Waiter, when Hank thinks that it's a good idea to go to a fancy restaurant to apologize for cheating on his wife. Overall, I think it's pretty fair to classify the Huckardoos as middle class, but definitely doing better than a lot of other people. But what about Cody? Now, this one may surprise you, but Cody is certainly wealthy when we take a look at his finances, even though he's only 18, considering that he loves to invent stuff. But it's unclear where he gets all the materials to build all of it. If we took a look at his family instead, we can tell that him and his family are doing pretty well, all things considered. In several episodes, we see that Judith is able to bring in some pretty good income to her family working as an OnlyFans creator, with her seemingly doing pretty well for the most part. His dad Tyrone was struggling to make money for his family, up until he changed that in SML movie Poor Cody. In this video, we see that Tyrone is trying to come up with more ways to get money after Judith's OnlyFans started to slow down, and comes up with the idea to create the Scrub Brother, a clear ripoff of the Scrub Daddy that got its name after it needed to be changed from a much more offensive one. This goes well until the creator of Scrub Daddy comes to try and sue Tyrone, but all Tyrone does is get out the claim that the creator is being racist towards him, and this works in his favor, with Tyrone attempting to sue back with it, all being settled out of court for a huge amount of money. This extra income we see eventually trickles down to Cody, certainly leaving him pretty well off because of it. So considering all of this, I think Cody probably has a net worth of around $500,000, especially now that he's 18.
What's up, bitches?
Oh, damn. Why'd you grab it and throw it again? Why do you keep still throwing it?
We saw it the first time.
So yeah, we definitely see that Cody is doing alright thanks to his family. But what about Cody's right-hand doll, Ken? Well, if we go at face value off Cody's words, we can say that Ken is pretty freaking loaded, as he's always been described as being a lawyer, astronaut, doctor, scientist for the NBA, with that obviously being false. However, if we take a look at a different version of Ken, that being human Ken, we get a much different story. In SML movie Awaken, we see Cody turn Ken into a human being, and after having a super gay montage, we find out from human Ken that he does not like boys, leaving Cody to be alone and going back for the Ken doll. Later on, in SML movie Starstruck, we see that ever since leaving Cody, he's been doing quite well for himself, literally starring in the Barbie movie alongside Margot Robbie. He comes back to hang out with Cody, and the boys seemingly get back on good terms with them, but it's later revealed that he only got there to get them and other people to see the Barbie movie, increasing the ticket sales, and from there, increasing his commission from the movie, with this doing enough to earn some extra money alongside the massive salary that he got from starring in the final movie. From being a movie star, Ken's gotta be worth at least a few $1 million, and we'll be generous and put him right at a $10 million net worth.
I know. I just got done using this sucker and his two friends to buy movie tickets and to leave good reviews, so I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next sucker.
Moving on past the well-off characters, it's time to start looking at some characters that can be described as truly rich. And our first character on this part of the list is a character who fans absolutely hated when they became rich, that being Joseph. During SML's time on YouTube, if you've learned anything about Joseph, you'd hear one fact over and over again, that he's poor and homeless, even claiming to eat roadkill, bugs, and living in a complete pigsty of a house, with him constantly begging Junior to let him live with him or stay in his house. However, this fact about Joseph gets completely flipped upside down when Logan released SML movie Joseph the Millionaire. In this video, we see Joseph decide to leave early from Junior's house, which is strange considering he has no home to go to, but Junior decides to follow him into the bushes and lands in a giant pool outside of a mansion, with Joseph barking at his butler. When they talk, Joseph explains that he's super loaded, and that his mom bought this mansion for him after she won $100 million in the lottery. But he doesn't want anyone to hang out there because he's a massive germaphobe. Joseph then takes Junior for a tour all around the mansion, constantly being rude to Chives, and being a massive pain. After the whole thing, it ends with Joseph using a memory eraser on Junior, making him forget that he's rich at all. This video was so hated that when it first came out, out, Logan had to literally make it not canon anymore, making Joseph poor from this point out. But at the very least, this version of Joseph is one of the most wealthy characters. If we added the mansion, the properties, the toys, and so on, my man's gotta be flaunting at least $50 million. Moving up from that, we can take a look at a character who was canonically a massive millionaire up until his death, that being Jacques-Pierre Francois. When we first meet Jacques, the first thing we see is him immediately selling a painting to Goodman for millions of dollars.
$30 million.
$30 million. I will take it. I will take it. $30 million. Ladies and gentlemen, I will buy the sneeze.
Later afterwards in the same episode, we see that Jock wins an extra $50 million, winning at the art duel against Junior because he cut off his frickin' ear. We're then led to believe that Jeffy will receive his massive inheritance that he's built up after we see that Jock is reported dead. But this turns out to be false in Jeffy's 18th birthday, where he's shown to actually be alive and was faking his death the whole time, causing him to keep the money all for himself. He then later appears in Jeffy's 21st birthday, growing his income even more, getting close to earning another $1 billion from Prince Abu Dhabi. This plan fails though when Jeffy starts to ruin it, with Jock attempting to get rid of Jeffy to earn the money. But he fails in this task, leading to tens of millions of dollars being unclaimed after his death. Considering how much money he's made from art, let's put him right around $100 million net worth. And to finish off the category of rich, we'll end with the most unsurprising character to be on this part of the list, that being basically Goodman Light, Richard Goodman. Richard showed up for the first time in SML movie Goodman's Son, where even though he was just a child, he's shown to be far richer than most of the adults in SML or even in real life, having tens of thousands of dollars just to blow on stupid things that he wants, like having all of the desks in the classroom, or even just to take Cody's Ken doll from him instead.
What, my boyfriend?
Yeah, him. Give me him and your desk.
I'm not giving you my boyfriend or my desk. $10,000 is not enough to buy...
Later on, we see that he's rich enough to buy a new set of AirPods or a new iPhone every time they die, just because he doesn't know that he can charge the phone and turn it back on. And we also see that he has a $3 million credit card limit after he attempts to rent out Disney World, with Goodman increasing that income and giving him even more. Richard basically has an almost infinite source of money coming from his dad, so I'll say he has probably around a $500 million net worth, but it could be much higher. That makes Richard Goodman richer than most people could even imagine. But trust me when I say that he has almost no money compared to the characters in our final category, that being the billionaires. And let's dive right in with our first character, Ronald McDonald. Ronald McDonald is the CEO of McDonald's in the SML universe, a company in real life which is worth $235 billion. So yeah, I would say Ronald has some money to spare. He also claims that he owns the moon, which the value of is completely unknown, but obviously is very expensive. And he's known to blow tons of money on strippers and drugs as well. He continues to increase his income by partnering with several sponsors like SpongeBob, Kerwin Frost, and Pizza Hut by stealing the fried chicken pizza, bringing him exponentially even more money. We even see the man so greedy and territorial about his money that when he's threatened with losing a deal with Kraft Cheese in SML movie The Business Deal to Wendy's, the only thing he thinks to do is to literally kill Wendy instead to prevent this from happening. Considering how big McDonald's is, and with him being the CEO and a money-hungry guy in general, he is certainly worth at least $100 billion.
Yeah! Yeah!
So Ronald's definitely a billionaire who is a little psychotic about his money, but he's even still poor when compared to this next character on the list, that being Prince Abu Dhabi. Prince Abu Dhabi has an insane net worth, definitely in the hundreds of billions, as every time we see him, he flaunts his wealth effortlessly every time we see him in SML. When we see him in SML movie Jeffy's 21st birthday, we see that he offers Jacques-Pierre Francois a ridiculous $1 billion for his artwork of his genitals in Las Vegas. Another time earlier where he offers Goodman another $1 billion just for Goodman to throw him a traditional American Thanksgiving. And another time where he offers $1 billion for Jeffy to be on his team and win at a soccer game against the French Bulldogs. We also see that he owns several incredibly expensive tastes, such as nice cars like a Porsche 911 and the love of Elvis to the point where it's worth over $300 million to see him play. The biggest sign that we see of his wealth is in Goodman's penny, where we literally see the man offer to pay Goodman $1 trillion freaking dollars for the last penny in the world.
Hello, do you have the world's last penny?
I do, it's glued to my hand.
I would like to buy it for $1 trillion.
Sold. Meet me in the Arby's parking lot. Give me a Jamocha shake and a large curly fry.
Unfortunately, he doesn't even get the chance to get paid, since it falls down the drain off the sink after Joseph and Jr. try to help, leaving Goodman and Prince Abu Dhabi to go looking for it. Prince Abu Dhabi offering Goodman $1 trillion so casually means that he's got trillions to spare, so my man certainly reaches the $50 trillion mark. And finally, to the end of this list, we have the character you guys have all been waiting for, that being Mr. Goodman. Mr. Goodman, without a doubt, is the richest character in SML, with plenty of reasons to support that. He's been stated to be the owner of several super successful companies, like Walmart, Domino's, GoFundMe, and Jimmy John's. He also owns several assets, including the apartment complex, Mario's house, his own private mansions, his several private jets, his several expensive cars, like Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and yachts. He does no shortage of plenty of ridiculous things with his money as well, like bathing in cash instead of bathing in water, and giving hundreds of millions of dollars away for ridiculous art, like we see in SML movie Bowser Jr.'s painting. Like we said in the beginning too, he claims that he's worth over $500 billion in SML movie Mr. Goodman's father. But if we take a look at all of his assets together, we can see that this is a gross under-exaggeration, since he's worth way more. Later in the episode even, we see him gain exponentially even more money, as we see that his father wanted to give his $2 trillion entirely to his cat Mr. Puffy Pants, leaving Goodman out of the will entirely. But he gets out of this limitation by literally marrying the cat, not signing a prenup, and then divorcing immediately to get half the money, increasing his net worth by $1 trillion immediately right there. If you consider all of his assets and money he earns, like in a previous video we did finding how much he's worth, we find his net worth to be $167,767,389,911,108, making him richer than literally everyone on Earth combined. Also, while you're still here, check out Polybuzz in the pinned comment, and make sure to use my code SML22 to sign up. It helps the channel more than you could ever imagine. Thanks, guys.